Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Hey, Crazy Cool parents, welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast. And today we get some special guests with us.
They're not guests, they're family.
That's true, they are family. And she doesn't have my name anymore because she got married.
I would say she upgraded, wouldn't you, Jared?
I would say so. Sure.
Legally, I'm actually still a Manning.
That's
different conversation.
Because they just got married last February. And this February of 2020, so they've only been married a few months, but they
almost half a year, guys. Woohoo!
We brought them on.
It's time to take the wedding cake out of my freezer.
We really do need to take that home today. Jared's been asking to try it for months and months.
They're doing Whole 30 right now, and so you guys could totally celebrate your 6-month anniversary and getting off of Whole 30. With the cake in the freezer.
The frostbitten cake.
Yes.
That is exactly what we want.
Yeah.
But that's not why we brought them on the podcast.
Oh, that's true.
We brought them on because they both experienced the COVID virus in the last few weeks.
I feel like we need some serious background music. Dun, yeah, something like that.
You survived.
And
wait,
so
you had what? The COVID?
We wanted to bring them on so you can know, you, our listeners, our parents, can know all about it. We want our listeners to know what it's like to have it, how it's impacted your life. No political opinions here. This is not a Democrat or Republican podcast.
And no medical advice. We are not doctors, and so we want to go ahead and, disclaim that.
It's literally just, we just wanted to bring them on to interview them about what's happened to their lives the last few weeks.
And to be honest, I was actually really relieved when Macy tested positive because you weren't quite as relieved, were you? Because it was a terrifying situation and I hadn't known anybody. Yeah. And so there's this big mysterious virus out there that it was affecting people differently. And so I honestly believe that God was gracious enough to allow me to have a child.
To allow someone else other than you?
I can't even say if I have or haven't. I mean, to be very honest, I don't even know. It feels so mysterious and so ambiguous. I don't really even know. But Macy tested positive, and so that's what we're like, okay, we have a positive test here, woohoo! And so even as she was sharing all of the symptoms that both of them had, and as we walked through the virus with her and the days, each day I was just more and more assured. Less and less fear went away because I think we have fear in the unknown, but when the unknown becomes known, fear doesn't have a hold on us anymore. And so that's what I want for you guys. I want you guys to listen to their story and their experiences, and hopefully if you have any fear tied up in the unknown of this virus, then their experience will help alleviate some of those fears.
Good.
So first of all, just how did you get exposed?
So from the beginning.
Wait, that really sounds bad. How did you get exposed to the virus?
Who are we blaming? No.
Yeah, so probably about a month ago. It's been several weeks since this whole thing went down, but we were just in close proximity with family, friends, people we worked with, and did not follow the social distancing rules. I think the main thing that's out right now is do not be within 6 feet of someone for more than 10 minutes. That's a really easy way to catch any virus or sickness they are carrying. And at different points, I was not following and adhering to those guidelines. And so I was given the virus on on a Sunday or a Monday. It's really hard to know when exactly you catch it. I think that's why a lot of people are trying to practice social distancing. But by that Thursday or Friday, I started just not feeling the best. And then by that Sunday, I was having a lot of the symptoms. And over the weekend, just kind of...
So probably 5 days after you were exposed to the virus is when you started experiencing symptoms.
Yeah, 3 to 5 days. It was... The hardest part about this is that it does feel like a lot of your symptoms are mild and can be explained other ways. So
Like, what does that mean?
Like, I had some really sore muscles a couple of the days before I even thought I was exposed or knew I was exposed. And Jared and I had just been working out in our garage. So I just explained it away as sore muscles from working out, not sore muscles from a virus.
Right.
Or I love to sing in my car. So if I ever wake up with a sore throat, I'm like, oh man, I just went too hard in my car. You know, I don't automatically wake up thinking I have the virus. And so stuff like that felt
Was
like...
it sore like you have a fever sore and your muscles are sore or kind of achy?
I think people have experienced it that way that I know, but mine really just felt like muscle soreness. And so I never put 2 and 2 together that that's what it was.
So how did your symptoms develop over the course of the next several days?
So the big hitter for me was my family and I got to hang out at a lake for a little while, and I woke up the next morning. This was after I'd been exposed, after I'd been asked to quarantine. I got to spend a little bit of time safely with my family and woke up so congested. Like my whole nose just felt so like...
But even part of that was you inner tubed, and so you pretty much got a nasal cleanse from the lake water, right, itself. And so even that you felt like could have been explained away. That
right.
Yeah, you
well,
just...
and the whole time I had been told shortness of breath, like fever. Those were the main symptoms to look out for, achiness and sore throat. And I just hadn't put it all together and I just wasn't thinking that I had it. And so when I woke up and I had lost my sense of taste and smell and I just felt pretty sinus congested, I was like, I think that's something.
So
might
lost
be
your
going
sense
on.
of taste and smell. That's something unusual with this virus, it seems. And that happened probably, about a week after you were exposed? So it would have been, it was about 7 or 8
And was
days
that
afterwards?
that was the final symptom?
Yeah, I mean, I literally had sore muscles for maybe a day, sore throat for maybe a day, and then...
What about fever?
We didn't have a thermometer at our house for the whole first week, so I cannot confirm or deny the fever.
That wasn't in the wedding registry?
No, we did not make the cut.
The crock pot got
So I
over
ended up getting you one.
Yeah, so after we got one...
You didn't have a fever at that point.
Every time we took it, we had...
Because let's
fever.
explain, because Jared winds up getting the symptoms, 2 or 3 days after you started getting the symptoms?
Yeah, it felt like I was on like a almost exactly 5-day delay.
5 day, okay.
From when Macy was getting it.
And did you have the same symptoms that she had, or?
Overall, I did, but the main one that she didn't really get that I got, like the first symptom I showed was terrible headaches.
Yeah.
And I've had like 2 migraines in my life, so I was like, okay, I'm just having another migraine. But it lasted for 3 or 4 days, and it was just like terrible headaches. I took Advil, Excedrin, anything that I could, and nothing would take care of or take any of the headache away.
But again, explaining symptoms away, when I got it, I was like, I have to start taking care of my body. I cannot put junk in my body, which we'll talk about in a little bit, how to support your immune system. And so I told us to start the Whole30. And so we started this journey of cleansing our bodies, of like detoxing our bodies from bad foods. And so that's what the book said. Like the first couple days, you're going to have headaches on the Whole30. And so I kept telling him, like,
it's just because of the diet.
it's just because you're not eating
So you
anything.
got the double
like,
detox virus
Exactly.
whammy.
Yeah.
So looking back on that, I was like, it was a good idea to try and be healthy, but I think it hit him right at the peak of his virus.
So let's talk a little bit. Oh, go
Well,
ahead.
so I was
I'm
just
sorry.
going to say, well, I don't know if you were going to say this too, but so you tested positive. Like, tell us a little bit about that experience, if you will.
Yeah, so as I am receiving more symptoms, for lack of a better word, and I'm cycling
And maybe
through them.
admitting that-
Yes, and I'm deciding, okay, I'm not going to this wedding. Okay, I'm not going to this baby shower. Okay, I'm giving up spending time with my family. Like, I'm getting more information from the family friends, from the people I'm around, that they had tested positive. And so when I started piecing together the timeline, it was pretty clear that if they had it, I had been around them, so I was exposed. And at that point, I felt like it was my job to submit to any and every authority in place and to get tested, not just for me, but for anybody else that I had potentially exposed. And so I started feeling all the congestion one day, and 2 days later, I went and got my test. The weirdest part, though, is that like the virus really did work through my body. So by the time I got my test results back, I was symptom free.
Because that was when you got your test back, it took a few days to get it back. So you were in the second week after you'd been exposed.
Yep.
So at the end of the first week, you started showing the symptoms, and you worked through the symptoms during that second week. Then you got your test back at the end of the second week.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the test, because I think that there's all sorts of things going on. You can do this test, or they shove stuff up your nose, or
pick your brain cells out. Yeah. My test was pretty swift. I went and got tested at a urgent care clinic. I made an appointment that morning. Actually, I made an appointment. I drove up and texted them and went through the whole paperwork process, and then I had an appointment 20 minutes later. So I don't know if they were just slow or what happened, but I got in, gave them my insurance, my ID, and then they sent me into a doctor's office. I sat there for about a minute. A doctor came in, took my blood pressure, took my temperature, asked me what symptoms I was feeling, and then she got out a pretty long Q-tip and just had me open my mouth and stick my tongue out. So she just swabbed the inside of my mouth and the back of my throat.
Oh, it wasn't in your nose?
Okay.
Wasn't in my nose.
Really?
Okay.
But Jared's was.
I was about to say, Jared, Tag, you're in. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, so I went and got tested. After Macy tested positive, I went ahead and set up a meeting for me to get tested. And same scenario, I called the same urgent care place, yeah. And they actually had completely filled up, so I couldn't get in for 3 or 4 days.
Oh, wow.
And so I was just waiting. My symptoms were actually getting worse, kind of by the day. They never
also
really got
Whole30,
terrible.
so
Also,
remember that.
Also Whole30,
Not
yes.
helping.
Yes. But my test, it was interesting. I went to the same place, and they did a nose swab on me. And they just barely swabbed a little Q-tip in each of my nostrils, and were like, okay, you're good to go. And so it didn't feel like they really did anything to me, but supposedly that's the test that most people are getting.
And then when you got your results back, what were those?
Mine were negative, actually.
Bum, bum, bum.
But yeah, once again, we need the dramatic music. And so that I just feel like is craziness, that living in the same house, for sure have the same sickness. For sure, there's no doubt that it was the same thing. And that your bodies responded so differently.
We even kissed when I was sick. So, that's what my parents always told me. That's how you pass on germs. Holding hands and kissing is dangerous.
Probably for more than 10 minutes.
And I did it, with him multiple times. I know it's
Jared,
okay.
You let her knowing she was positive.
Oh,
yeah.
I was going to go down together.
He initiated.
So
I just think that note to self, I do think that some of the testing, I just think they're overwhelmed, honestly. With the testing. And so maybe, like you said, they didn't get a thorough test. They didn't get in there deep enough or whatever. But I had never even heard that they were doing a throat test. That's even new to me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting, too, because the day I got my results was the day I lost my sense of taste and smell. And I tested negative. So that's where all the confusion kind of started for me, too. It's did I ever actually have this or not?
Or did I test too soon and the virus hadn't developed enough yet? Because, like we said, he was feeling about 5 days behind me. But what if he was 7? Or what if he was 8? And you can test negative, and then 3 days later the virus show up in your body enough for a positive test.
You know somebody who's tested positive 4 times now, right? That was on your same team that got it from the same person.
Yeah, exposed
that you
the
did.
same time as me,
Yes,
has had 0 symptoms, and has had multiple positives tests, and has not experienced 1 ounce of COVID sickness. It's such a spectrum that it makes sense why people are fearful and uncertain how to answer basic health questions, because it feels like this virus is so different for every person.
Right.
And the timeline is so different too.
So you're now quarantined because you needed to be away from work. And you're also doing things for your immune system as you're there. Mm-hmm. What is all that like? What is total quarantine when you're cooped up in your house? Or maybe you were, I don't know if you ever went anywhere or whatever, but what does that look like? What did that look like for you guys for the several days? And how did you try to fight the virus?
Yeah, so we took a pretty all-natural approach. We drank a lot of vitamin C or Emergency. We drank a lot of herbal teas. We diffused oils in our bedroom and put it on our feet and our backs before we went to bed.
Down your spine.
Down my spine,
yeah.
Yes. And, we would take Advil if we felt like our heads hurt too bad, or for me it was muscle soreness if I wanted some relief. But we didn't do any sort of like prescribed medication or anything like that because of where we were both at and how mild the virus was for both of us. The doctors we went to, they didn't even ask if we wanted to be prescribed anything. I remember in my appointment, I asked the doctor, I said, is there anything that I should be taking or anything you should give me for this? And she said, if you don't have any like coughing or any sort of like nostril, mucus, anything like that, she was like, there's nothing I could give you, like a Z-Pack.
So the doctor said just write it out.
Yeah, she evaluated me in the 5 minutes she was in there, and that was her parting words, was like, you're healthy, you're going to be great, don't worry about it. She's like, drink a lot of water and rest, don't go anywhere. Those were like really her only words.
And then you added to it, and we're not doctors here, it's just what you guys did, but I mean, you added vitamin C into it, just, again, just to kind of help your immune system, try to strengthen that, and the oils and everything, just trying to do everything you could to make your immune system as strong as possible.
Yeah, and we did slow down a lot. Like, he took off work, and I was working from home for part of it, or I wasn't working at all, and we both just went to bed every single night. We would take walks to help our lungs if they weren't feeling super strong, or we just really did slow down, took it easy, ate well, pumped ourselves full of vitamins.
And so that was one of the things that you told me that I thought was fascinating, is that you said that you felt it in your lungs, which is what is hitting a lot of people really hard.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you guys did? Like you just said something about going outside, or so just kind of explain how you...
So that was probably the biggest reality check for me with this whole virus, is like you were saying, it was out there. The virus was for someone, but it hadn't hit me at home yet. And so when I would walk up the stairs, and I didn't even feel this symptom until after I got my positive test, after I felt like I was asymptomatic, I could not breathe. Like there was something in my chest. It didn't really feel like fluid. It just felt like heaviness. And walking upstairs, it was hard to breathe, and carrying groceries inside. When we finally went back to the grocery store, it was immediate out of breath. And that's when everything...
This was 2 weeks after you'd been exposed.
Probably a week, yeah.
Well, because you had already
2 weeks
tested.
after I was exposed.
Exactly.
Yes. A week after I was done, towards the end of having any symptoms.
Right.
And that's what scared me, is that there was something in my body that had created a weakness in my lungs, and I didn't even know what to do about it. And so some of the things that we did is we would walk around our neighborhood, and that's when what I was saying, the reality check for me, because the humid air is what helped break up anything that was left over in my lungs. And so it was a realization for me that if people were to get this in the fall, when there isn't humid air,
or the winter when it's dry and cold,
that's where I can see this being a bigger problem than it even is now. And so we even I would just take a hot shower, just breathe in the hot air, or do anything I could, drink hot tea and just inhale it, because that warm air was kind of the saving grace for me for getting my lungs back to normal. And I don't think there's any long-term permanent damage to them, but that was definitely the scariest part.
Did it affect you that your lungs is that way too, Jared?
It did, yeah. And I think that was actually one of the first symptoms that I had.
Okay.
Like after the headaches kind of subsided a little bit, I think the shortness of breath was one of the first things that I experienced, where I kind of knew, like, hey, I think I actually have this virus. But I think going on walks, while it did kind of wind me a lot faster than I ever would just going on a walk, I think it actually really made me feel better just getting outside the apartment. Maybe it was just because I felt cooped up. I don't really know what it was, but it felt like it kind of stretched my lungs out a little bit, just getting moving. But that was probably the scariest part for me too, is just I've never really had trouble breathing before.
Yeah.
It's just well, this is a little terrifying if it were to get any worse than it is right now. I can deal with this symptom, but if it gets worse, it would scare me.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're just sitting there, right now, if we were just sitting here and we were having shortness of breath as a symptom, we wouldn't really know. The more stationary you are, I don't think you would actually know. It's not until you got up and walked around or picked up something heavier than your body weight that you were like, oh wait, I'm like having a hard time getting a full breath. And I think a lot of people who get sick, that's the first thing they do is they lay down. Oh, I need to take a nap. Oh, I need to sleep. Oh, I need to watch a movie. And it's like, we did all of those things, but we also made sure we got up and walked around or did stuff to help circulate our lungs.
Went outside. Yeah, that's so good.
So let's move in the quarantine aspect from a little bit from the physical part to the mental, spiritual part. And, you know, you're isolated from people. You even mentioned missing things. You even mentioned a little bit of felt ostracized a little bit. So talk about that a little bit. What were y'all feeling as
you had leprosy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right after I got tested, I came by my parents' house actually and stayed in my car, and Maddox brought me out a couple things that I had asked for.
The thermometer that I ordered for, since you didn't have one.
The thermometer, and he even gave me like a really encouraging note, just being like, hey, you're not alone in this, you know, sibling date as soon as, you know, you're done and out of the woods. And I just told him I really did feel like this virus specifically has a spirit around it of like unclean. Like, I don't know a better way to describe it, but when the lepers were cast out of the city in the Bible, people would not affiliate with them. They did not have meals with them for sure, but oftentimes they would walk further away from them just in case they were going to spread the disease onto them.
They were afraid of it, yeah.
And that didn't happen in a physical way because people were already socially distancing and we didn't go out a whole ton or try and socialize, and it definitely felt that way for me mentally and spiritually. Like the things that I wanted to do, the places I wanted to go, I was not good enough or I was unclean and couldn't go. And so that was definitely a big thing for me, probably harder than actually physically getting through the virus, was that mental, something's wrong with me, I'm off, I'm not accepted or loved or valued in this moment.
Wow.
And it is quickly deteriorating my identity and how I see myself. And the more and more and more days I'm stuck in my apartment, the more and more and more attacked I feel, the more unclean I feel. And that was shocking to me because I would consider like my identity in Jesus something that I stand up on. And so to have that rattled over no sense of smell or taste is ridiculous. But it really was a mental, I mean, I broke down and cried multiple times that week over the course of those couple weeks, and really did struggle with believing I am who God says I am, simply because of what society put on me. You've tested positive, you're unclean, you're not accepted in our grocery stores, you're not accepted in the church yet because you work there and we need you to be cleared. Like, there was a lot of things that got rattled in me when it came to identity for this virus.
And it wasn't necessarily anything that nobody was really mean to you or, you know, that wasn't that. It was just the whole society. It was really the effect of the whole society of how everybody's dealing with it.
Well, and that's why I say spirit. Because
Right.
you can't always see what's happening in the spirit world. Oftentimes you can't, but your soul knows and your heart can feel it. And the pressure that, and I don't want to be over spiritual, but it did feel like an element of darkness, like the darkness that you feel that's surrounding this virus. And there's 1,000 things that the darkness is creating: the fear, the anxiety, the worry,
isolation,
the unknown,
separation.
Yes.
Well, I think that speaks
things
to so many people,
Yes.
you know, the vast majority of people have not had the virus. And so, you know, it just means that we need to be sensitive to those people who have had it, and be particularly sensitive to what they're feeling, because you know, you can't, it's hard to include them. You can't invite them into your home or whatever, but you can do what Maddox did. You can encourage, you can give a note, you know, and just really make sure that
a text message, an email, a voice memo. There's so many things that, I mean, and a lot of times people don't know that you have it until you come back. And you're like, oh, where have you been for a couple weeks? And it's like, oh yeah, vacation, nope, COVID. And like, people don't always know your life as well as you do. And so if you disappear for a couple weeks, it's really telling of who notices that you're there. But yeah, a text message or a word of identity, a verse, like, goes such a long way, because there's just a lot of attack happening in that season. And truth is really powerful.
Well, and I was even going to say, Jared, I feel like your business really took care of you. in the middle of all that? Like what some of the things Macy just keeps telling me, Mom, Jared's company just gave us a
Grubhub gift card.
Yes. And so what is
free massages? No, I'm just kidding. I'm waiting
no massages
for
yet. Yeah.
a vacation. No. And so what is some of the things that, I mean, did you feel isolated like that as well? Did you feel taken care of by your company? What are some of the things you felt in all of this?
I think it was a combination of both. I mean, I felt very taken care of by my company because they ended up giving me 8 days paid time off that didn't come from my PTO balance. So a lot of companies aren't doing that. So maybe just even more grateful for my job than I already was. And then, I got a letter yesterday from the head of HR that said, hey, we're thinking about you and your family during this time. Here's a Grubhub gift card, order some food for your family on Fidelity. So, that was super cool that they went those extra steps out of the way.
So, some of our parents.
So I love that, though. If you're a business owner and your employees get COVID, go out of the way and do something and love them. We have a family that have been tested positive for COVID. And so Molly and I went to the store and bought a whole basket full of toys for their kids because they're stranded in the house for the next 2 weeks, can't go anywhere. Yeah. And so to love that. I mean, I don't know what I would have even thought to do that if Macy hadn't said, Mom, you abandoned me. You said you were going to go take care of me.
It was a low moment in my quarantine. Hung up on my own mother on the phone. I was so mad.
It's all right. I didn't know she was hanging up. I thought her phone died.
She's believing the best.
I was really glad that Jared was there to take care of all the tears.
But it is really real, and I think we both experienced the mental sickness, honestly, that can come with this, along with the physical. And I mean, we've, like we said at the beginning, are newly married, but a lot of feelings came out too. And like a lot of, I need you. Why aren't you doing this for me? Or stop doing this for me. I'm a grown woman or man. It's like there was a lot of that too, just high emotions. Specifically for me, I really did feel so rattled emotionally and mentally. On top of trying to figure everything out physically.
On top of trying to, the physical part.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up here, anything else you guys want to tell our parents about the coronavirus or anything anything we missed here that you would give advice to them? And either having it, but it sounds like to me also dealing with people who might have it or experiencing it.
Yeah, I would just encourage anybody, man, woman, mom, dad, kids, whoever's listening, even if you're a single person, that the biggest lesson I learned from all of this is my opinions and my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, they're all valid. What I'm experiencing is real to me. And so it is real. And it may be different from other people, but it's valid and it's real. Just because what I'm experiencing feels real and is valid, it doesn't make it the most important thing in the world right now. And I felt so self-focused in my sickness, and it wasn't until I was not sick anymore that I realized, oh, other people are out there. Oh, other things are happening to other people. It's like I became so self-absorbed that I stopped thinking with a missional lens or a hope-filled lens or a Jesus-focused lens. And so that would be my biggest encouragement. If you're wherever you are on the spectrum, if you're full of fear and you're just processing the day in and day out, if you're full of faith and you believe that your family's untouchable, it doesn't matter where you are. Your opinion is valid. And there are people out there that need to be loved on. There are people out there that need to be taken care of and encouraged and built up. And whether they tested...
So don't let your opinion get in the way.
Yes. Yeah. Whether they tested positive or not, you're not the judge. You're called to love and take care of them. And a lot of my preferences had to be set aside because I'm not the most important thing in the world. The people are. And loving them and taking care of them and honoring them any way I can is how I want to live my life. I don't want to live it for me. I want to live it for other people.
That's good.
Yeah, I think like what Macy was saying earlier about people losing their identity during this virus, I mean, you really do kind of feel unclean, and it's easy to believe the enemy speaking into that and kind of bring you down. But whether people out there that get the virus love Jesus or not, like their identity is being shaken, and they're feeling less clean or unclean or feeling less than or not human. So like she said, like small encouragements, reaching out to people that you know that have it, just go a really long way, and just fighting that. And if you do love Jesus, just remember your identity and letting God speak into that to kind of bring you back to where you actually are and not what everyone's telling you.
Yeah.
So good.
Macy, as the one who tested positive for the virus,
I have the authority.
Yes. So why don't you pray for our families in dealing with the virus, and then we'll close.
Yes, Jesus, we invite you into every household, every car, every set of headphones that's listening right now, Jesus, that you are the center of our lives, that you conquered sin and death and everything that falls under the dominion of darkness. And so we, as your people, have not been given a spirit of fear, but one of power, one of love, and one of a sound mind. And so I speak out over the virus, love, peace, a sound mind, that there would be families that are experiencing chaos that would experience peace, that there are families that are experiencing division in their homes and they would experience clarity and wisdom and a sound mind. God, that we would just say to the enemy, stop talking, stop speaking a language of fear, and we would speak one of love and peace, not just to our own hearts, but to the hearts of the people around us. Jesus, would you bring healing and protection over every single family that is feeling sick or under the weather, whether it's COVID related or anything else? Would you just speak healing into every single household? And God, would you just remind us that we're on a mission, that we are here not just to live for ourselves, but to live for other people. And so we choose to trust you and trust your plan over our opinions and our preferences. We believe in you, Jesus. In your name, amen.
Amen. And thank you guys so much for bearing your souls physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all those things, and being real with our parents, because really helps, I think, to do that. And parents, you may have some other questions for them. If you do, just email us, info@crazycoolfamily.com, info@crazycoolfamily.com, and we'll forward that on to Macy and Jared and let them respond to that. And other than that, we hope this has really helped you. Remember, this isn't a medical deal. This isn't a political deal. We're just sharing experiences.
No doctors were involved in the making of this podcast.
Yes.
Or politicians.
No politicians were harmed in the making of this podcast. So hope this has been helpful to you. Check out our further resources, crazycoolfamily.com. Go be crazy, parents, crazycoolfamily.com.